carbon emissions do not come from the individual. They come from less than 100 companies on Earth.
They're pinning the environmental issues in the wrong place. No one's looking at that.
There are actually 100 different companies that cause most of the greenhouse gas emissions, and these companies love to blame it on the consumer. For example, we now love to recycle all the time and get electric cars, and that places the blame of climate change and emissions on the consumer. Now this is really, really helpful for these businesses because, hey, the plastic company says, hey, you need to recycle, you're a bad person if you don't recycle, and then keeps making plastic. That shifts the blame from the big companies to the little guy. And this is not sustainable at all.
%70 of the emissions are just coming from these large factories pumping out pollutants and contaminants into our air. And they haven't even begun to start restricting in the same way cars have. Cars have gone over the years in constant regulations, constant checks. We pass emissions every year to make sure that we're meeting the new standards. And then these factories are allowed to pump and dump, and no one is checking them or making them upgrade in the same way cars have. They're just letting them continue on and saying, oh, just go electric, when that's not even going to solve an issue.
This takes all of the blame away from them, takes all of the pressure on these companies, and puts it on you. So when it comes down to consumer with their cars, for example, cars are not to blame. To an extent they are, and to the extent we are to blame, but the thing that we need to do that can change it is voting. Because, for example, people need to have a car to go to work. I personally live in Washington, D.C. I'm lucky enough to live next to a metro stop, and I can take the metro 2 stops to Nat Geo. But for most people, for example, my dad, he has to get in a car and go to work, not even a 15-minute drive, but there is no public transport for that. So the best way to tackle cars is to actually vote and ask for more public transport, and to take away the stigma of public transport and make it more accessible. Especially here in Atlanta, we have MARTA. And MARTA is great and all, and it was great and all like 20 years ago, but now it doesn't really go to the places you need it to and really come from the places you need it to.
It's not really fair to just throw them out and say buy a Tesla when a Tesla is just as bad for the environment as a Ferrari. To build a Tesla battery, the amount of damage they do to the earth, stripping lithium and mining all those precious metals and rare earth metals, it's not good. It's tons and tons of pollution and waste being dumped.